Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel, and I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising. In this episode, we're going to take a final look at sales from January of 2025. Now, we've looked at international sales and we've looked at the larger price tag sales over $20, but now we're going to look at sales that I call just right sales. That's sales that aren't too small, that aren't too big, they're just right. So the price of these falls in that $10 to $20 sweet spot. That's kind of the mid-range of the price that I put on advertisements to sell. In case you've not seen it before, I'm going to leave a link at the top of the screen here where you can go back and watch a video that I call My Pricing Secrets Exposed. That was a bonus topic that I did last year that gave more information about what I take into consideration when I put a price on these print ads. But for right now, without further ado, let's take a look at those ads. First, we're going to take a look at an advertisement from 1930. This is what the company calls the Lockheed Register, and basically what they're doing is bragging about their client list. And in the details of this ad, I'm going to switch over. Well, I'll show you the whole ad first. And I guess an aircraft broker is the Detroit Aircraft Corporation, and they're based in the Union Trust Building of Detroit. But what I want to get at here in the client list is in 1930, they had clients including Colonel Charles Lindbergh, and of course he's famous for his aviation exploits, Amelia Earhart, who disappeared in 1937, and it's notable that she was flying a Lockheed Electra 10E, Lockheed aircraft. It may be the one that she purchased in 1930, I don't know. But anyway, the other one here is Lieutenant James Doolittle. He's the third on the list. It says that he represented Shell Petroleum Corporation at that time. We saw in another advertisement from the 1930s that I covered a while back that he won an air race trophy called the Thompson Trophy in an ad that I sold then. Anyway, real interesting aviation history here. This ad brought $18.77. I always feel like a video is incomplete until I've shown an ad for my horse people. I have a lot of clients that look for horse advertising. This one from 1976 advertises for Big Sink Farm of Versailles, Kentucky, and in the detail of the ad, it describes their mares and foal. At the top of the ad, a beautiful central Kentucky bluegrass region pasture scene here with the horses, and in the detail of the ad, those great horse names that I love. So this ad sold for $16.77. On the topic of horses, let's also cover this one from 1977. The advertiser is Jan Lagier Studio. He is an artist and photographer that provides services for the horse industry. In the detail of the ad here, besides the beautiful equestrian pictures here and the horses and riders and all of that, in the bottom corner it says that the photographer can take aerial photographs of your farm. He says, I'll shoot a 30 by 40 aerial view of your farm for just $89. May I drop in for a visit? And it shows this airplane here. When this sale occurred, I got a message from the buyer, and he said, by the way, I'm the fellow at the controls of that airplane right there. And I looked, and it was the advertiser himself who was buying this old ad nearly 50 years ago, and I thought that was great. I sold it for $16.77. We'll take a quick look at this great ad from 1942. It's by the General American Transportation Corporation, and that was basically a company that leased rail cars and other assets of the railroad industry. In the details of the ad here, it says, wings across the sky thanks to tank cars on the ground. And at the bottom of the ad, it shows aviation gasoline, helium, benzol, and muriatic acid in these tank cars. And so there's a lot of vectors of interest for this advertisement right here. You've got the people who like the aviation aspect, World War II aspect, and of course the railroaders. I sold this ad for $18.77. Continuing on the theme of World War II, this is an advertisement for the Willys Jeep, and it shows a C-47 with a belly full of hell. This is the James Milton Sessions advertisement. This artwork is just fabulous. It shows the troops and the equipment departing the transport plane here. And I had a lot of interest in this advertisement over the past several months, but folks, they kept trying to talk me down. I felt like the ad warranted the price, and I eventually got it, and I sold it for $18.77. In the last ad, I talked about multiple vectors of interest, which included aircraft and railroad and also World War II interest. I failed to mention Petroliana, the people who have interest in the oil and gas products industry. But in this ad right here, you've got multiple vectors of interest. Well, you've got the aviation buffs. This C-47 airplane, in the military, it was called the Skytrain. But in the civilian aviation industry, it was the DC-3, probably the most prolific and successful propeller aircraft in history as far as transportation and passenger service goes. And then you've got the Jeep aspect for this Willys Overland Company. And then, of course, you've got the military interest as well. So a lot going for this ad. That's why I stuck to my guns on the price. Another from the World War II years. This one, 1943. It's an advertisement for Burma Shave. And Burma Shave ranks right up there with Coca-Cola for the most successful advertising campaigns of all time. I've talked about the Maidenform Bra campaign. You could put that one into that category as well. But in this one, Burma Shave, basically they had the roadside signs, a series of 5 signs followed by a sign that said Burma Shave, and they were just little verses, and I had to look this up and inform myself about what it's called. It's not a particular kind of poetry. It's just called doggerel verse with an unsophisticated rhyme. But anyway, in this one that we're looking at, it says, well, it shows these goofy looking soldiers in this Jeep, and down in the text it says, from brass hats down to Private Clancy, it keeps the Yanks all looking fancy, Burma Shave. And so just a fun ad. I sold it for $10.77. And just one more here. We're on the theme of Jeeps, it seems. 1944, we're on the theme of World War II. And we're also on the theme of multiple vectors with this one right here, because you've got the Jeep interest, you've got the military interest, and you've got the coffee interest. And this one says, the first sniff says it's good to the last drop. And that was a advertising slogan for Maxwell House for decades. It might still be, I'm not sure. But there's a common theme here about soldiers getting bounced around in the Jeeps, and that's what's going on with this private here. It looks like he's getting in trouble with the general. So fun ad there, $18.77. We'll break from the World War II ads now, because I want to show you this one from 1987. This advertiser is the Ford Company, and I did a little bit of research. They merged in 1986 with the New Holland Company, and Ford had expertise in building tractors. New Holland built all other kinds of agricultural equipment, and so it was a pretty good merger, and it worked well for both companies for a time. But I've mentioned before, because I've been talking about horses and horse people like their horse ads, I'll show you this ad to basically drive home this point. tractor people like their tractor ads. And I've said that before, but it's not just John Deere, it's all other tractors. And this past week, I had occasion to talk to my local agricultural extension agent, and he was excited about a recent tractor purchase of his own. He just acquired a 1948 International Harvester Farmall Cub, and he was excited about that because it was built in Louisville, Kentucky, International Harvester. They refined and produced their steel using coal that was mined right here in the county where I live. So there's lots of ties to the company and all of that. So he's a local history buff. He's a farmer. He's a tractor guy. He loves his tractors. So that made me think of this ad right here. I sold this ad for $16.77. All right, we're going to throw the ship in reverse for a minute, go back to World War II era. This is 1945. The advertiser is Coca-Cola. And in the details of this ad right here, let's take it this direction. In the details here, you see a bunch of teens at a party. And I guess the next day, if you ask any of the kids, did the party get wild? They would say, yes, it sure did. And I'm not talking about the cops showing up. I'm not talking about broken stuff and, drunk kids or anything like that. It got wild because the kid popping the popcorn at the fireplace here, things kind of got out of hand there. So that was that was way too much excitement for back in the day. I think that's a fun and interesting ad. It's sweet in an innocent sort of way. And Coca-Cola advertisements just had that feel about them. This one I sold for $18.77. It's a half-page ad, and it went to the same buyer as an advertisement that I featured in the video for over $20 sales. I'll link that video at the top of this page. But that buyer bought those. He's a repeat customer, and he also picked up the next Coca-Cola ad. Now we look forward a few years to 1952, another Coca-Cola ad. And in the title of this ad, I said, "Kids play cowboys and Indians." In the top of the ad, it says, "Coca-Cola is easy hospitality." And it shows mom fetching the Coca-Colas out of the refrigerator. But now, I looked a little bit closer, and I didn't realize when I posted this listing that mom is dressed up as a clown. And sure enough, these boys look like cowboys, and the girl is dressed like an Indian, but the girl is dancing with the boys. So this looks like maybe a party for middle school age kids or something like that. Just another sweet and innocent Coca-Cola ad I sold for $16.77. If you're a regular viewer, and if you're tired of hearing me say this, I apologize up front. But always check a magazine for other content that you may be able to sell. And this is a good example. From 1941, I found this in a magazine. The key here shows that the title of the map is called Chiang's War. That's a reference to Chiang Kai-shek. And in China and in other Asian cultures, there is the custom that the surname comes first. But this is a pretty good rendition of the Pacific Rim at that time in history. And it shows the Philippine Islands down here. Hanoi is down at the bottom of the map there. And what is labeled as Formosa here, we now know as Taiwan. And that body of water right here called the Formosa Straits is a very contentious piece of waterway right there. Japan up here at the top across from the Korean Peninsula. And just a couple other things to note. There's the capital of Chongqing, which was later Peking and now Beijing. And place names kind of evolve over time, just like Constantinople and Istanbul, as a group called They Might Be Giants sang about. If you're familiar with that reference, I believe my buddy Steve out in Southern California might be aware of that. But anyway, this map made a history buff in Colorado very happy for $18.77. Here's an ad that I'm excited to talk about for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's one of the older ads of this episode. This goes back to 1936. The advertiser is Ephemera. It's a company that made toothpaste, and they advertised in all of the major publications back in that day and time. Now, in the details here, it says a dowager and a dentist battle about a turkey leg. And it says a dowager would say that this lady's manners are appalling, but the dentist says that it's a sensible way to eat because it gives the teeth and gums a good workout. Down here it says you can also massage your teeth and gums with a Pana toothpaste and a toothbrush, and that's good for them. So I sold this for $16.77. I sold it to a regular viewer, and that's the other reason why it's exciting here. The lady that bought this needed a gift for her dentist, and I think that's a really thoughtful type of a gift, something unique instead of just something out of, Walmart or whatever. But the other thing is she has an eBay store where she's got some really, truly unique items, both vintage advertising and also other types of ephemera. And one of the things that I was fascinated by, she got a hold of a whole trove of items from mass transportation in Europe. There's all kinds of unique transportation ads from Europe going back, 30, 60, 80 years or more. Real unique stuff in her store. It's called SparkyGoHome, and I will put a link to her store in the description of this video. I've got two quick personal stories to contribute to the discussion of this ad right here. I'll make it quick. 1952 Greyhound bus lines. It says smart shoppers know Greyhound's the best buy. And it talks about spring travel. This lady is showing off her shopping purchases. And I just used the top portion of the ad as the primary photo because the art is just great on that. And we'll zoom in and take a look at the whole ad right here. But the personal stories, first of all, as I was growing up, my grandfather's nephew, I guess that would make him a cousin, was a Greyhound bus driver, and he lived just like maybe about 3 miles from here. And so our family was close, and I knew that he was a bus driver. I thought it was the greatest thing ever when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old that he got to wear a uniform to work. That just, it was like a policeman or a fireman or whatever, the bus driver, the pillar of the community. He was a public servant, basically, ensuring that people that needed to get around had that transportation. Super nice guy, great family, love all my cousins. But anyway, so there's that. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention about this is I was still 16 when I went through the enlistment process to go into the Air Force. And I've told you before, I live in the middle of nowhere. And so it's from where I live, it's 73 miles to the nearest Greyhound bus station. Well, that's 73 miles to the north. The place where I had to go through the enlistment processing station was in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is 85 miles to the south. Because of the 12-mile difference, the recruiter chose to drive me 75 miles north so I could get on a bus to go 85 miles south. And I thought that was funny. But I was still 16 at the time, 17 when I shipped out to basic training. But that's my only being on a Greyhound bus story. I sold this ad for $14.77. This ad from 1936 communicates a couple of things. First of all, the advertiser is the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. That's MetLife. And that's a famous company that's still around today. And the detail of the advertisement here shows that they are that they have captured smallpox, diphtheria, and typhoid fever. And there are still enemies out to arrest. The sign at the top says whooping cough, scarlet fever, and measles. But this ad is all about the importance of getting immunizations, and it talks about this was, new science back at the time, creating all these vaccines for especially childhood illnesses. So there's a lot of interest in vaccinations these days, a lot of discussion about that, but also there's a lot of interest in the insurance business. And I wanted to mention this here because I think there's a great thing to be said about advertisements for companies that are still in business. For example, if you have a cubicle or an office or someplace where you can hang any kind of decoration, why not, make it advertisement for the business that you're in and the company you work for? How do you communicate to a boss that you're gung-ho about what you do without going to your boss and saying, I'm gung-ho about what I do? Let them stop by your office, take a look at your walls, and see that you're a company man. So I think that's one reason why some of these advertisements sell for these, companies that are still in business. It's not just that people are, gung-ho about what they do, but they also want to communicate that through their decor. So I think that's interesting here. I'm going to go back and look. Oh, I sold this for $12.77. So I've still got a stack of ads that I wanted to show you, but this is kind of getting long, and so I'll make this the last ad of the regular segment of Just Right sales in the $10 to $20 range. But then I'm going to move into just a brief segment where I'm going to show you the best of the rest. You can slow down the playback speed of that if you want to take a closer look or pause or whatever. And if you have questions or comments about any of those, by all means, send me a message. But after that, I promise to show you a ripper, and we'll do that last. But right here is an advertisement for Armco Steel Corporation, 1951, and it shows pirates burying treasure. And it says sometimes other pirates come along and they dug that treasure up, or it got washed away. So Mother Nature was a bust as far as a safe deposit box went, but you can rely on Armco Steel for security. So I sold this ad for $16.77. As we take a look at some of these other ads that sold, I just wanted to remark that it's been about 3 weeks ago was the first anniversary of the channel, and I didn't do anything special to mark that anniversary, but I do want to take this opportunity to tell you that I appreciate all of you that watch. I have nearly 500 subscribers now. I'm blown away by that. The fact that there's, that much interest in this niche and the selling, and that many of you who, tolerate my approach to this. It's a little bit different. Those of you that express that you've liked the format and appreciate what I do, I really do. Thank you for the encouragement. As this overview continues, there's an ad coming up about a model airplane seller, and the publication is Model Airplane News, and that just brings to mind a question that Jason asked recently in comments, and it was about is it possible to be too niche? And I said it then in comments, and I want to say it again here in the video, that I think there's a certain mindset about these niche ads. I feel like sometimes sellers think that it'd be hard to sell in a niche. Specifically, I'm thinking of the model airplanes, the horse magazines that I have, radio and television news. Some of those, the publications are specialized, but then when sellers don't sell ads from them because they're so specialized, I feel like that you have segments of the market where the best advertising for a niche is neglected, and those niche collectors go underserved. And so this model airplane news ad is just one example of that. And some of these ads don't sell for a lot of money, but they really add up. On that ad, I think my price was $8.77. And from a publication like Model Airplane News, I count that every ad cost is $2. At $2 for ad cost, because I may sell a limited number of ads from that publication, my profit margin may only be $4. But after I hit a certain point in the magazine where I've sold 6, 8, 10 ads out of that magazine, then it's more realistic that my profit margin is more like $5 to $5.50 per ad. I don't mean to keep jumping around, but you probably already know that's kind of how things work on my channel. But anyway, as this overview plays, I just wanted to throw out a few other numbers. Altogether, including these 53 what sold type videos, my video count stands at like roughly 60. And I've had about 21,500 views, and that accounts for about 4,000 watch hours. YouTube gives you these numbers in analytics, and I've had 323 comments, about 50% by you all, and the other 50% are my responses and replies, and I try to make sure I respond to every question or comment. And if you've made a comment in the past and didn't get a response, just be aware it's not always easy to find the way that's set up. So I appreciate your patience with me. But anyway, all together, I've put in about 500 hours of work toward producing video content, and that's almost 10 hours per video, and that's just because I stink at this. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and I come into this with no skill set whatsoever, and so it's been a learning process for me, and I humbly thank you all for your patience as I continue to learn and grow. All right, as promised, I'm going to go out with a bang here, and this is the Ripper that I referenced earlier. This is a 1957 advertisement from the Chevrolet company, and this ran in Sports Illustrated magazine. And in the title of this listing, I called it Chevy Corvette Funny Surprised German Racing Competition, and I priced it at $34.77. Now, there was no other copies of this ad for sale. There were none in sold comps. I went on the internet and I found a couple of other copies of this ad that changed hands 12, 15 years ago. One of them had a price on it. I think it was between $15 and $20 back at that time, something like that. The other one that I read about was among a collection of Corvette advertising from the period. And so that was all that I could reference. I priced it at $34.77. It sold within a couple of hours. I feel like that I could have asked double the price, maybe triple. I wouldn't be ashamed to do that. And I need to address that in an upcoming video about price margins, and we'll do that soon. The thing I want to say about this one is that when something is scarce or rare, or if you have a unique item, I've said it recently, don't be afraid to price it where it belongs. But as we take a look at the detail here, when you zoom in on the picture, this appears to be, I would say, an area around Southern California, the Mojave Desert, Palm Springs, that could be Bonneville Salt Flats or something like that. I don't think it was referenced specifically in the picture, but those do look like the California hills and a dry lake bed maybe. You've got the Germans here. They're talking, and I say Germans because it's kind of obvious from the text. But the guy's complaining about the Corvette. And when you look in the background there, it looks like there's another red Corvette right over his shoulder. And then there's other sports cars out there. But he's got a real complaint about the Corvette. And I'm going to try to do this in my best German accent. And bear in mind that my only exposure to the German language is Hogan's Heroes. When I went into the Air Force, I had Europe and specifically Germany all over my dream sheet, where they ask you where you want to be assigned and stationed. And I had 10 places in Europe listed, and they sent me to Japan. That's how the Air Force works, which is fine. I love that too. But anyway, so when you look on down in the text of the ad, and I'm going to try, like I said, no disrespect to the German people, but it was written with the intent to be funny. And so obviously I'm going to read it that way with the intent to be funny as well. As you get on down here, though, he's complaining. He says, "Und so help me, Herman. I was holding 5,900 RPM, and he came past me like a Stuka, and playing the radio too." And so that just cracked me up. This is probably my favorite print ad that I've sold to date. It has the airplane reference in there. A Stuka is a German aircraft maker of the World War II period. And so Stukas are like fighter airplanes. And but where he says, and he was playing the radio too, just cracked me up. And anytime that I run across an ad that evokes some kind of response, like laughter or sadness or just any other emotion, those evocative ads deserve at least some additional premium price to them. And so I loved seeing this ad. I loved selling it. Did I underprice it? Probably. Do I have a happy customer? Absolutely. I'm certain of that. So this is the Ripper, and I hope you enjoyed seeing it. And leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and that way you'll be notified when I drop a new video. That'll be coming soon. Bye for now.